Hello and welcome to another episode of the To Baldly Go podcast, and thank you for joining me on my mission to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to baldly go where so many have gone before. My name is Aaron, and I'm watching Star Trek for the first time, then discussing it with my wife Abby and our friend Nate. This week, we have a special guest, another old friend of mine, Gregg. This week, we will be discussing the premiere of Star Trek The Next Generation, Encounter at Farpoint. Now, make it so. Why'd you call her Red McCombs?
That was Greg's name when he joined.
Oh,
Was
Hey
Red
guys.
McCombs,
oh, there you
which
are.
is a name I have not heard or thought of, and I cannot tell you how long.
Right.
Even still alive?
I don't think so. I think
I
he died a number of years ago.
I
Yeah.
think you did too. Yeah. Hey everybody.
Hey,
Howdy.
I'll show my I'm gonna be unmuted just on video, but I just wanted to say hi. How's it going?
Hey.
Abby, good to see you.
long time no see, sir.
Nate, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Yeah,
I've been listening to the pod, so I feel like I've been getting to know you a bit. But
that's awesome. You probably don't remember back in the day we were all in the same fantasy league too. So
oh, of course, Nate
that,
Johnson. Oh my God.
yeah,
I just made that connection. I don't think I heard your last name or it didn't register.
yeah. No,
Of course I remember you. Hey, how's it going?
How dare you
so-
do not recognize the last name Johnson
only the
from
second
someone
most
who lives in
common-
the north?
Yeah.
second most common last name in the United States. Johnson.
Really? I didn't know that. That's crazy.
Bonus
Second
points.
to
Bonus points for anyone who can guess number one.
Greg
got to be Anderson or Smith.
Thompson.
Smith.
Smith.
Yeah.
Yep.
There it is. Right on. Well, I just want to say before we get started, I want to say thank you guys for letting me join you here this evening. I'm just gonna be like a on the wall. I'm gonna be like a wallflower, especially to start out. I just wanna but I really appreciate you letting me, kind of poke my head into your little corner of the world here.
Absolutely.
Yeah, of course.
Welcome to the party.
Yeah.
I'm glad
it'll
we
be
didn't
fun.
chase you away.
Well-
We chased you towards us instead.
Oh yeah,
And-
absolutely.
And with that introduction of you saying that you'll kind of stay back and chime in, why don't you introduce yourself and your background as a fan of Star Trek?
Yeah, absolutely. So, are we on right now?
Well, yeah, we're recording.
Oh,
we just record-
this is it. We're on the pod. Hey, everybody.
It just starts recording automatically, and then I just cut out whatever superfluous stuff we don't need.
So if you
Got
want to start over, you can start over.
Yeah,
No, it's
so
good.
we can start over.
I like starting awkwardly and on my back foot. This is a perfect way for me to introduce myself to your listeners. Hey, everyone. I'm Greg. I'm a huge fan. Well, first of all, just a little. I know Abby and Aaron from very long ago, and I know Nate through a fantasy football league. We just established that. And when Aaron told me he was planning on doing this, I think like over a year ago now from this recording, well over a year ago, I was like, that's such a cool idea. And in my head, I was screaming, I want to be a part of that. And so I not so subtly hinted over the past year that I would love to be a part of the next generation discussion on the podcast. And Aaron very, very graciously is allowing me to participate. So I'm excited to talk about the next generation. One thing that I realized listening to you guys talk already, and I don't want to make, I know we're trying to do this evergreen. You just started releasing the podcast. You're about 9 episodes in at this point.
Yeah.
And the thing that I noticed right off the bat is, this individual love and passion that I have is not individual at all. It's like I share this with so many people, and I was like listening to you guys talk, and I was like, oh man, I've had that exact thought about this. And, yeah, so that was been really fun for me, and also a little bit sad. Just like this individual love I have. But I guess to tell you a little bit about Next Generation, what it means to me, because that's what you actually asked me. and I promise I won't be this verbose the whole time. But
Please do. You sound great.
Okay. I grew up. So the Next Generation has been in my life for what feels like my whole life, like even from a very young age. When the first episodes started coming out, I was very young, and my parents would watch the Next Generation on television, live broadcast, and occasionally, when they felt like it wasn't going to be a scary episode, they would let me sit on the couch with them, and I would watch the Next Generation. And so I have a very early like love affair with this show and with these characters. And my favorite part of rewatching the Next Generation is having memories from my childhood suddenly erupt in my mind. Like while we're watching, I'm like, oh man, I remember this like thing from when I was very young. And if I remember any of those, I'll certainly share them. But that's one of my favorite things about it. I've had like a relationship with the series that's evolved over time. As I got older, I would appreciate different things about it. I've rewatched it many, many times. I've seen a lot of the other series, but the Next Generation through line is for me just kind of like my home base. It's what I love to come back to, the stories that I love to revisit. Like I am a recovering actor. I like to joke. I try, I was grinding as an actor for many years. And during that time, I developed a love affair with Patrick Stewart. So I reignited my enjoyment of the Next Generation because I started to appreciate it as an actor, the things that he was bringing to the table. And I was studying Shakespeare, and I was like all into Patrick Stewart's Shakespeare, roots. And so I would like watch the Next Generation with a whole new lens because I would see things he was bringing from Shakespeare onto the screen. It was like, oh, that's so cool, So there's just so many things about this show that I have discovered and rediscovered. And this watch, I'm watching with a little bit more analytically, I guess, like so that I actually have something to say, and it's not just me going, I love this, and then we just move on. So that's been a different experience as well. So yeah, just that's it. That's it. I love the show, and I can't wait to talk about it. And yeah, let's do this thing.
Well,
And you didn't want to live through the pain of the original series, so
You left us to suffer
the
over
original
here.
series was not
silence
that
on my part.
bad. The animated
Hey.
series is a different story.
Now we may get, I'm only on episode I think it's 9 is out that's out right now. So it sounds like you guys are enjoying yourselves, so we'll see.
It goes downhill real fast. We're trying real hard to find positives.
Okay.
What we discovered and listening now, you'll have already heard it, is that we started out, generally speaking, liking the original series a lot more than we ended liking it. Though I tended to like it a fair bit more than Abby and Nate did. There were a handful of episodes that they liked more than me, which led to some fun conversations. But generally speaking, it started much stronger than it ended, and we kind of all agreed that we could see why it got canceled after 2 seasons.
Wow.
And why it really got canceled after 3.
Wow. Okay. All right. So I have lots to look forward to.
So
but
yeah,
Nate and I both agreed, though, after the last movie, what was it? Voyage of the Whales.
Yep.
Voyage Home.
Voyage Home.
The Voyage of the Whales.
We did determine that we still really enjoy those characters. We just enjoy it in the movie setting more. And those are the characters I remember, not the episodes I just rewatched.
My
perception was completely wrong.
I was actually thinking about that earlier today as I was kind of mentally preparing for tonight, knowing that we're going to jump into new cast, new time era, new ship, all that stuff. And I was kind of juxtaposing that in my brain. And, last week we had just done the Voyage Home. And honestly, yeah, I mean, I think when I think of the original series, I'm not actually thinking of the show, I'm thinking of the movies. I think those are my
Mhm.
characters.
Correct.
That's when they're really developed and fleshed out and like in their purest form, which I find very interesting.
I
And
have a
that's where we don't
confession.
have that turn
And
problematical we use too.
Yeah.
They have less problematical scenes that were like, wow, that was really rough to watch.
and and being new to the all of it, I'm kind of 50-50 on the series versus the movies. I mean, the movies I've enjoyed, but as I've been thinking back, and while there were a lot of stinkers in the original series, like we've discussed plenty of times, I already think back on episodes of the original series with some amount of nostalgia
Hmm.
um, about them, even having been through the original series one time and now four of the movies, and now diving into Next Generation, which I hate to break it to you all. It was a terrible episode, and the podcast is over.
I think this just got canceled. Perfect.
No. Yeah, so we this week started out, instead of doing the normal 3 episodes that we had been doing in the original series, updated to just watch the series premiere of Next Generation, Encounter at Farpoint. And yeah, we'll give all our ratings. I thought it was about a 7. I thought it was good. Um, I thought the beginning of it was only okay. Like the very beginning, I liked. The courtroom scene was a little bit weird, and I thought was not the strongest point in the episode. So I thought that was only okay. And by the end, I thought the ending was the rest of it was pretty great. But I'll average that out to good and say the episode is a 7, a solid series premiere. Had that feel of being a pilot episode. Um, Not that that's a bad thing by any means. It was introducing a lot of the characters, and I thought they did it was an effective way to introduce all the characters because they didn't introduce everybody all at once. They didn't even give names for most of the people till I don't even recall if they said Jean-Luc Picard until Riker said it, like a third of the way through the episode.
I actually
Um,
caught that too for the first time that they just don't
so
use the characters, which I thought was interesting.
they just and I Abby and I watched it last night, and then I watched it again today, trying to just be along for the ride last night, and then just watch it again, see what I missed, pick up on a bit more. I'm sure there's still a ton that I missed, but yeah, just how they introduced the second time through, it was very clear how quickly they just got right into the action. I mean, Q was there and they were like running into that barrier that was a little bit like it had a feel of what was the episode? There was an original series episode.
Holy web.
Yeah, the Tholian Web.
Which we
Um
liked.
Yep.
Very reminiscent of that, but um
That's early in the original series, right?
Tholian Web was, I
Season two,
think,
I
the
believe.
best episode of season 3.
Okay.
Oh
Then
yeah, it
there's
was season 3, episode 9. You're right.
okay. Then what I wanted to point out, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to. I know we're setting out the table here, but I had just been listening to the beginning of the original series that you guys were talking about, and
Mhm.
I have a confession to make. I've never seen the original series, so I know, I know, I gotta see it. I gotta see it. It's one of the only things I haven't watched actually. There are, I think, a lot of parallels to the start of the original series storyline and the Next Generation. And I was listening to you guys, and then I was watching the next, the first episode, and I was like, oh, there's some things here that are very similar. It's almost like a not like a reboot, like a when they make a film that's
It's not a
further
remake.
along in the story, but they match a lot of the beats like they did with Star Wars, the first. Anyway, I thought that was really interesting, but please continue.
No, you're saying something we've said too, where it's they set the groundwork really well in the original series. The stories were so close and a lot of them to being excellent stories but they didn't either have the funding or it was the wrong time or whatever reason may be, they didn't execute them well. So if you go back and rewatch it, which I'm 50-50 on doing that or not, because I didn't enjoy watching the actual series. I enjoyed the movies, but I have more context for the movies, so I enjoyed the movies more having watched the original series. So I'll give it that. But over and over again, we saw that those like seeds from the original series are in a ton of the episodes I remember from Next Gen, Voyager, and in these movies. And it's like cool. And that's probably, it'll make it more satisfying, I think, when we get to those other later episodes, be like, see,
Just
they
wait
did
till
it right now. The story was
Well-
good. They just didn't execute it right. And now they're going to execute it fully and they're going to get it right the second time.
just wait till next week.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Are you teasing?
I actually don't know if I'm teasing or not because,
What's next week?
but next week there is an episode that is
Yeah.
very
So
reminiscent.
some of the notes I didn't take I didn't take any notes when we watched it yesterday, and I was jotting down some notes while watching it today. But yeah, there were certain things that had a very it was clearly a Star Trek show. And clearly connected in some sense to the original series, not just the McCoy cameo, which was great. But it had, much like the movies, it had that Star Trek feel, but a much bigger scope. You could tell they had much better production quality than they had in the 60s, which just came by the late 80s. Um, but they had also just expanded the Star Trek universe, which I thought was cool. And there were a lot of things in the episode that they just showed. They didn't tell. They didn't explain how there's a Klingon as a Starfleet officer. He just said, I'm a Klingon. And he said, no, you're a Starfleet officer. And that's the extent of that explanation. But clearly something has happened to get us there. But I thought the episode did a great job of just showing these differences from the original, but still maintaining that feel. And I don't know exactly how they managed that, but in my opinion, they did. So what did everyone else rate the episode? I gave it a 7. I thought it was good. Like I said, early on in the episode, I thought it was a bit rough. The courtroom scene was just really, really weird. And just didn't quite do it for me. But
You got that it was historical, right?
I did.
Okay.
And that it was like that one of my notes I brought up was how, much like in the original series, there's this dichotomy that they have between this hopeful feeling for the future, this hopeful vision that by the 2300s, things are good, people are unified, and all of that, and we are expanding into the galaxy. Yet, there's this really, really bleak outlook for the near future from when it was made. So in the 60s, they're talking about the eugenics wars and basically World War III, because in the 60s they were such a shit show that World War III was imminent within 30 years, which then led to the Federation and whatever else, whatever peace they have in the 2200s. Well, now they're talking about this basically post-apocalyptic, reminded me of the Dark Knight Rises kind of just
Yep.
anarchic courtroom scene where it's just I don't know if it was just the high up on the chair gave me that vision of The Dark Knight Rises and some of those scenes. But this I think they called it a post-atomic horror. And this just apocalyptic view of the trajectory that humanity was on at that time. And so this is now the late 80s. They're wrapping up the Cold War, and of course the atomic threat was ever present at that time. So it's I found it interesting, just that dichotomy of this hopeful vision for the future, yet a very bleak short-term outlook, yet somehow we'll make it through, even though I think to this point they've not explained how that happens.
And they don't really give any idea on how long this period of time is in human history, just that it occurred, right? And
well, they make reference to 2039 and 2079, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure even with McCoy on there, he said something about that because I did the math on it. I was like, okay, it's been 80 years since about 80 years since the original series, based on I think the timeline that he gave. Which my immediate thought was, well, that's expecting a lot of change in 80 years. But then I was like, okay, 80 years ago, I mean, I guess, yeah, we didn't have computers 80 years ago, really.
80
So
years
I guess
ago, the world was at war.
yeah, I mean, so I guess, yeah, a lot can be changed in 80 years, but that number doesn't seem that large to me. But then in context of actual real civilization, it's like, okay, maybe they're not too far off on that.
Yeah, Aaron, so are we gonna I want to respond to your sort of comment about the trial scene and the surreality of it. I think whenever you're dealing with Q, I feel like surreality is part of the equation. So like that is probably not actually what it was like. It's Q sort of like amping it up and making it theatrical and ridiculous, and all the guards are basically clowns, and they literally have clowns running around, and I think there's an element of Q's playfulness that's supposed to be coming into play here, but you don't know the character yet, so you don't know that. But in like viewing it backwards, because it is ridiculous, it's a ridiculous scene. It's like something out of Clockwork Orange or something. It's just like totally bizarre. And it's also a period of Star Trek history that I don't think is ever referenced again. I'm pretty sure this is the only time it's ever referenced. But
so, and we're kind of jumping ahead in the series, but I think Q brings it back periodically throughout the series, right?
Right.
So, spoiler alert, this episode sets up basically a recurring villain for the crew.
I don't even think that's much of a spoiler. I mean, maybe it is, but he did say at the very end, like, you never know when I'm going to come back. And then he appeared on the opposite side of Picard and then disappeared again. But
if I remember from my trivia, though,
it could be just. Go ahead.
Sorry. If I remember from my trivia, though, and Abby might have this pulled up somewhere at some point, originally he was meant to be a one-time character. It's just that he had so much charisma with the rest of the cast that they decided to continue to bring him back.
Correct.
That seems impossible to me because he's so huge, so such a huge part of the story.
Yeah.
Yep. He's a secondary storyline by Paramount. Wow. Nate's 100% right. It was originally supposed to be a 1-hour pilot, and Paramount wanted a 2-hour pilot. So he was not only supposed to be a one-time show, he was supposed to be a secondary storyline, not even the main plot.
Remarkable.
So, but now, I mean, this makes no context to Aaron, though. That's what makes it really tough. Yep. Because for us, we see Q and we're like, it's Q, right? He's not only transcended episodes in Next Generation, but I don't watch Deep Space Nine, so I don't know anything about that. But
it was funny though
he's
how many
series too.
It was funny though how many times in the original series you were like, "That's Q," and then he pops up, and it was just like, "Oh, that looks like the Squire of Gothos." And then I think back, and you guys are just like, "Is that not Q?" And yeah, so I mean, I had some expectation. I didn't realize that he was right from the beginning.
Right from
And
the start.
I think I said last night when we sat down to watch the episode, I think that was the first full episode of Next Generation I've ever seen. I haven't even accidentally seen an
That's so
entire
crazy to
episode.
me.
Wow.
But you've
I
watched
don't know
Insurrection.
how.
Makes no sense to me.
What was that?
But you've watched Insurrection, which
I-
Is
makes
that
no
because
sense.
know.
of me though? Was that
No,
when? Is that
no,
because
I
of-
went to Insurrection in the theater with Jody.
Oh, well, Jody loves
So
it. And then
yeah, so I went with her when I was in what, 8th grade. Jody is my aunt. So I went to the movie with her. So I've seen that. I know I've seen bits of First Contact. And I know I've seen Generations. But yeah, I even when Abby, you had the DVDs, I don't think I ever saw an entire episode of Next Gen. I don't know how I haven't seen one.
that's
uh,
okay.
in
With
its
those discs I
entirety.
had, it's a good
But
chance I didn't see the very end of any of those episodes
That's-
either. With my
that's
StarTech
fair.
pirated Chinese.
Oh, that's right. I forgot you
Episodes.
had knockoff.
That's fair.
Half the time it was they ended it 3/4 of the way through the episode.
But yeah, so I think this was so I mean we all know I've seen a full episode of Voyager. But yeah, I think this
What
was
an
the
episode to
first,
watch.
Oh
and
God.
and I did watch the first season of Picard when that first came out, because this wasn't even in the plans at that point. But yeah, this was the first episode of Next Gen I ever sat down and watched, and now I've watched it twice.
So your only exposure to Voyager is the worst episode of Voyager, and your only exposure to the Next Generation is by far the worst season of any of the story, in my opinion. That's incredible.
Probably.
That's incredible.
Hence, this podcast origin story. Was the amount of crap we gave him
Yeah.
sitting at a resort being like, please do not bring up the most embarrassing episode of Star Trek. We choose to ignore that it ever existed. You're embarrassing us. Please just don't join this conversation.
Are we gonna rate this puppy or what?
Yeah. So what, Greg? What's your rating?
So here's the deal. It's impossible for the Next Generation to be ranked anything below a 9 at any point. So
Oh my God,
This is a
he's
9.
starting
this
off.
episode is a 9.
Oh my God.
All right.
He goes our averages.
9 out of 10.
Damn.
All right.
Okay, so here's the problem we had. We started high with Next Gen or with the old series going, okay, you know what? And then it was
It's only going to go
all
upward for
over
me.
the place.
It's going to start at 9 and it's going to go 9.1 and it's just going to get better and better.
Nate has told us there are some real stinkers in
Stinkers?
Greg,
Next
I
Gen.
can't wait to hear your rating for Sub Rosa. I'll just
It's going to
say
be
that.
great. I promise you.
I don't believe it, but okay.
I'm going to love it.
All right. I'll do mine. I'll go 7.5. And here's why. I enjoyed it, but these are not the characters I remember yet. These are just shells of those characters. So I'm not quite like, oh, that's the Troy I know and remember. She's still this kind of awkward, overly emotional. And I get that she's an empath, so she has to be, but I found that annoying. Again,
they're not sure how to use her yet.
Correct.
She comments on literally everything that's happening, and eventually finds a way to. Well, I don't.
She makes her own character. I love the character of Troy later on, and I love Marina Sirtis.
Yeah.
But in this episode, she was still so undefined. She did, like you said, remind me of Sigourney Weaver in Galaxy Quest, where she just repeats the computer. That's the take I had, and it was just like overly emotional while she was doing so. That, and then the random use of separating the saucer section on this one, it was like, okay,
There's a reason for that too.
Yeah, there was zero reason. It was just like and it would
But
become
there
very
was
clear.
a reason for it.
They just really wanted to show off how cool this ship was right away and draw people in.
No, there is a great Greg knows what it is.
Well, I'm not sure if I know the. I'm not sure if I have.
Prove me wrong, boys.
Well, okay. To respond to Abby, yes, that on a production, like on a making the show level, that's the only reason that happens. That's the only reason.
It was forced.
But on a story level, it's because all the families are in the saucer section and they're going to go on a dangerous mission. So the idea, I think, for that was, hey, when there's extreme danger, they'll send the families off, somewhere else and go go do the mission on this little tiny bridge or whatever.
So-
I think is the idea.
The battle bridge.
I get that, but it was just like top warp. We barely know if we can handle this without breaking up. Now let's send all the families off and see if we don't blow them up by separating them off. It was like,
Now, Nate, was I right, or is it?
Yeah, I mean, you're pretty much spot on. The reason why they did that was so the original Enterprise could do this too. They never showed it.
really?
Yes,
Really?
it's in all the technical manuals.
You would know. You
I
would
would
know.
know. I might have. I don't
Do
know
you
if
do you have all of you?
Technical
I feel like you need to
manuals.
walk your computer over and show him all of your models because
I don't have all of them. I have a lot of.
I'll take your word for it. I would love to see them
Nate
though
puts
at
us
some
to
point.
shame with the nerd level.
I am.
Yeah,
that's
clearly.
all. But the reason why they do it, and I will agree that I think it's not explained very well, so it feels forced. From a production level, Greg, you're basically spot on. They knew that this was a mechanism that they wanted to have as a plot device throughout the show. They had a much bigger budget for the pilot than they did for subsequent episodes. And so Gene Roddenberry knew that if they did not do this in the first episode, it would never happen because they would never have the budget to film it.
So I'm correct. They forced it in and had to make it
Yes.
work so they can show it. And that's why it felt forced. I'm not
And
saying it's a
every
bad thing. It
other
was just
time
forced.
they do this, it's reused footage from this episode. Every single
I did
time.
not know
That's
that.
hilarious.
Just
Good
wait
trivia.
till they do it again, and it's
Good
going to
trivia.
be the same footage.
Speaking of reused footage, did you check me on this, Nate? So Aaron sent us a text from the original VHS, like teaser trailer. Did you
Yep.
watch that?
Never did.
Okay, I'm pretty sure there's footage in it from the original Wrath of Khan movie, like the
Probably.
torpedoes, because I don't recognize the
They
original.
reuse a lot of stuff.
But it was like all Farpoint footage. But then I swear they had like original series like photon torpedoes coming out.
I would
and I might be
believe it.
wrong, but I was waiting for you to see it and tell me if I was on that.
I will watch it.
Oh,
Obviously not right now.
it
but
is a trailer that is so gloriously 1987 that
So is.
it was remarkable. And the trivia on that is apparently Star Trek 4 was released on home video, probably Laserdisc too, the same week that Encounter at Farpoint aired initially. So they included a trailer for Star Trek The Next Generation on the Star Trek 4 home like VHS.
I have a question for those who've had parents who also watched. So, did your parents watch Nate or your
my brother did.
Okay, so the original series or this series?
The original series on reruns because he isn't quite that old, but on reruns, and then Next Gen as it aired. That's how I got into Star Trek, was
Okay.
being around him while he was watching it.
My question is, and I don't know about Greg, if you have a family member who watched the original series, were the original viewers of the original series upset about the reboot? Like, were they bothered by it because it doesn't follow the exact same formula? So it hits all the points I liked about the original series, but it is a different flavor. And so I'm curious if anyone knows anybody who actually did watch it exclusively and if like it felt like a betrayal almost to reboot it.
I don't know that. I guess I can't say that definitively. I don't know that I've ever heard anyone say that. I do remember hearing something. It might have been Patrick Stewart's memoir where he talked about like critical reception of the Next Gen and whether, they were going to be able to survive. And it was, I think, kind of hit or miss leading up to it. And then once the show got started, it kind of took off after that and was very well received kind of by everyone.
Okay.
Yeah, I had a question on that, and it's more of a rhetorical question, but who was the target demographic for this show?
Fans of Star
'Cause
Trek.
There's a Star Trek feel to it that I mentioned. It feels like an updated version of the original series to a point, but were original series fans the target demographic being 20 years removed, Or was it more the movie fans, or were they just like, hey, we can do what the original series did with new characters, new technology, and just get a new demographic?
I think it's exactly what the title says.
The
Yeah.
Next Generation, and it's so poetic because what they're doing, and I'm sure Nate may have the trivia on this. Their objective, their target audience, Aaron, is people who watch the original series and their
And their
kids.
kids.
And
Yep.
that's exactly
Mhm.
why all four of us are sitting here talking about it right now.
Yep.
Is
Yeah.
because they did it successfully, extremely successfully. There's like,
Yeah.
well, hey, you used to watch this when you were a kid, right? Check this out. It's
Yeah.
back on the air, and it's going to be a whole new cast.
I can't imagine being anything other than that.
Yeah.
And that makes sense.
Enough time had gone by. Obviously, they're making movies, right?
And successful movies.
Kids,
yes,
kids who
successful
grew up
movies.
with their parents watching it.
Yep. And so it was time to bring in a new generation to, explore what happened later, right?
Basically, essentially what happened, 30 years removed from this episode with, hey, they rebooted movies with old characters and were wildly successful. Let's do this shit again.
Yep.
And then they came out with Discovery, Strange New Worlds, and however many other shows are on right
Hard,
now.
Lower Decks, Prodigy.
Which now that we've had that seed planted, they're all equally as exciting and like they're all enjoyable even without any context to them as you go. I stopped watching, Nate, for the record, so I can watch fresh Strange New Worlds with Aaron.
Yep.
Even though I want to watch it
in like 7 years.
Is that how long? Okay, I'm not waiting that long. I'm sorry. I have to watch that one.
I'm
I'm watching Picard through with my mom, and she's really enjoying it.
I
But
watched the first 2 episodes of Discovery a couple days ago, season 5. Like, I'm not waiting for anything at this point. Like, I'll just rewatch it again.
I want to go back to a point it's been made a couple of times about the timing of the release of this. And I think it's really interesting. I didn't know that. I didn't know that this came out the same week as Star Trek 4.
Well,
And
the Star Trek 4 VHS home video release.
But the timing of that is very clearly designed. That they did it on intentionally, and it makes so much sense rewatching, especially the first block of episodes. I think they did them in quarters or something like that. That's how they shot it. But anyway, the first block of episodes, it's so clearly bridging a gap between the foundations it's built on and where it's desperate to go eventually. And I think it's that sort of tension is very clear. The influence of the original series is very evident in the beginning of this story.
For sure.
And it's
you're going to have the handoff of McCoy, right?
Yep.
We already talked about this a little bit, but that's kind of that, little surprise cameo that you just throw in there and kind of a fun little interaction between him and Data, which is very much like an interaction between
him
McCoy
and Spock,
right?
Yeah.
Because Data is the Spock of the series. So they had to, make that connection. And I think part of it is to make it seem like it's not that far ahead in the future. Now he's 137 in the episode. Like he's old, right? But still, it's not so far that there isn't at least one surviving member of the original Enterprise. So,
well, they also had the voiceover too, which I thought was brilliant, keeping that same flavor, and it's the captain giving it, with the exception of Spock doing a few times for a few movies that are focused on him. But I really liked that, and I love the McCoy thing too. What you're saying, that bridging that, it was great because it does. I didn't recognize McCoy right away, and so I remember watching this episode, obviously, 2 decades ago. But I did not recognize McCoy or care, I should say, when I watched it for the first time. So seeing him now, I was like, oh, they did not. Oh my god.
It's emotional. I knew it was coming, and it's still an emotional.
It's the torch.
Thing.
He passed that torch, and he passed it to an android, someone who's, equally as ununderstanding as Spock was. It was really, I could see that being a very emotional moment for the original series watchers being like, that's my person.
Yep.
Minor pop in trivia for that. They actually did try to get Leonard Nimoy for it. They were in negotiations and they fell through. So that almost was.
I think it
And
works
then-
for that
and then-
scene was better.
But
And then McCoy was basically like, "Yeah, I'll do it for a sandwich."
yeah, he's
Yeah.
like
He did it for
got the
whatever the
minimum
base
cost.
rate
Yeah,
was.
because he just wanted to do it. He's like, I'd be honored to do it.
Aaron, you were going to say something.
I don't even remember what I was going to say at this point.
I think I'm the only one that hasn't given this a rating yet, so I'm going to give it a rating so we can keep moving here. I give this a little bit of grace because it is a pilot and it is the first episode, and because even the actors playing these characters don't know these characters yet, right? And so I kind of take a different view, and instead of kind of comparing it amongst the rest of the next gen episodes, I kind of look at it almost from the perspective of other series premieres kind of throughout, the franchise. And when I look at it in that perspective, it's a pretty solid entry. I did end up giving it a 7.
Yes, I got it right.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I think it is a very good start to the series. I think it's an interesting storyline. Yeah, it's a little clunky in parts, but it sets up a whole lot more for the next 7 years, by the way. I mean, we have 7 seasons of this, of like 26 episodes a season. We have a long ways to go, but it's probably, at least of the, TOS, TNG, DS9, Voyager, like that segment of 4, probably the best of the 4 in terms of the series premiere. So I gotta give it due for that.
Why do you hate DS9 so much?
Didn't say I hated DS9.
It's terrible. It's only about a wormhole and that's it. Nothing else happens.
Whatever.
My goal every podcast is
He's
just
like,
to
"Don't
get
take the
Nate
bait.
riled
Don't
up
take
every
the
time.
bait."
So this is the point where I mute my microphone.
He usually gives me the finger that no one else can hear every episode. And my day is made.
But none of that ends up on the podcast, so we're good to go.
So, really agreeing with you, Nate, there, just not just on the rating, but on some of the sentiment to it. I thought it was a very effective pilot. I watched it, and I am excited to see what comes next.
Well, they give every character their time to kind of develop a little bit, right? Everyone, it's not just about Picard. And in the original series, it would have been a Kirk-focused episode with some ancillary characters in.
About that, and I think the idea all along was to have Picard be the focus of it. But the way the episode was shot, the way it was presented, it almost felt like Riker was being set up to be the focus of the series. That was my feeling watching it, knowing that Picard is the captain, the key, but the way Riker was introduced and some of the things they did with him, some of the ways he was in the episode, and I don't know if it was just the actor playing it that way, but it almost felt like, I mean, clearly they're going to be numbers 1 and 2 in the series, but it almost felt like it was being set up for him to be 1A almost over Picard. Not saying that's how it's going to go, because I don't think that is how it goes, but I had that feeling at points during it.
But if I remember correctly, and this might be fake news, and then we might be able to verify this in some of the trivia, they really envisioned this series to be more of an ensemble cast.
Yeah.
To not have like a more direct, like, main character that's kind of the focus, with two sidekicks, and then ancillary characters. It was, this is an ensemble cast where everybody's going to get screen time. They're going to have plot lines focused around them, and there's not going to be a clear, Picard isn't going to be the focus of every episode. Right?
And I know Abby talked about that too throughout the original series, and talking about those differences where there's going to be a Riker episode, there's going to be a Troy episode, there's going to be a Crusher episode, all of those. So, yeah, knowing that, and it definitely did have that feel where there's still the captain being a step above everyone else. And I didn't even think they made it seem like Riker was a step above, but I did have that feeling like they could go that direction as it moves forward. Not that they necessarily will, but just having that thought and that feeling of, yeah, they made clear that there are very distinct characters here, where in the original series it was Kirk and then Spock and McCoy and then everyone else. And everyone else of the main core group, and then really everyone else.
Yeah, whatever red shirt we're gonna throw at the end.
Right. So they did, I think, do a very effective job of not making it just Kirk and Riker and Data. It was like everyone had a decent sized to big role in it. And I'm sure some of that had to do with the amount of time they were filling, because they weren't filling a regular 45 minutes. So I can already see there's going to be a difference in these episodes. They'll be a bit more compressed than the original series was. And we talked about this a lot with the original series, most of those episodes being 50 or 51 minutes long, and us being used to somewhere between 42 and 45 minutes for an hour-long show. Felt like a lot of original series episodes had to extend scenes out to fill the time, where here I'm sure we'll get a bit more compressed, but having 90 minutes to kind of kick everything off, they were able to really give a good amount of time to really set that stage of that ensemble of the crew. And I thought they did a very effective job of it.
I think that your impression of Will Riker is...
Greg, can you move your mic closer?
Sorry, thank you. I was drinking some drink. So I think your impression of Will Riker, Aaron, is due to two things, because it's definitely an ensemble. I don't know if that was the intent right from the beginning, but it's absolutely that kind of story long term. Will Riker makes an impression because of how brilliantly written the character is and realized. Like, it's such an amazing character on so many levels, and it's kind of fully realized like right out of the gate. It's definitely one of the strongest, like most well-drawn characters. He even gets his own special intro like right in the middle of this episode. So he's sort of isolated on this planet. And he's sort of having his own little adventure. So he gets his own little moment, but it's also Jonathan Frakes, his performance, just like he feels totally at home in the character right away. And, right from the start. So I think that's probably where that impression comes from, is that he just leaps off the screen. I think that every time I watch this, I'm like, wow, man, he's just like flying off the screen, the character and the actor. And, just like it really launches really, really well.
So to answer your question, there were some questions about whether or not it'd be successful going on the ensemble style versus on what they called the three-man quote unquote cast style, because the original series was only about those three. I mean, we had a few secondaries add in, and we got even more of those character definitions in the movies. Honestly, that's where we really got to know those characters and their comedies and all that kind of stuff. But Roddenberry wasn't originally involved with this project. He had concerns about changing from that. He had a lot of extra ideas that they didn't meet eye to eye on. So he originally was unhappy with the original conception work. So he only joined because he didn't like what Paramount was doing. So he stepped in as, fine, this is my stuff. I'm not gonna let you mess it up, kind of thing. But he was even just like, we don't even need spaceships anymore. It's going to be 100 years from now. They're not going to be driving spaceships. They'll be traveling different ways. So again, we go back to Gregg, you weren't on the original series stuff, but Roddenberry takes things kind of crazy sometimes on these things. It takes other writers and production people to bring them back in and be like, that was too much. We love you, but come back to us here. And I found that interesting that was the case. But that was a concern that the quote unquote elder, what do they call it? Elder statesman. And Roddenberry speculated that they would not, they'd have a problem with the new series because of that. So there were concerns, and it was a deliberate choice to have that ensemble type thing on that. The big reason for doing the show was to pay for the salaries of the last movie. The salaries were astronomical.
We need to make money like real quick.
So yeah, early proposals of the series included where they might show some of the original series members as those elder statesmen, but he speculated the new series might even use spaceships and so on and so forth. But it originally started, they were first concerned they would take away money from the original. Paramount executives worried that the new series could hurt the demand for the films, but they decided it would increase their appeal on video cassette and cable, and that the series and the unknown actors would be more profitable than paying the film's actors large salaries. So they weren't opposed to bringing back the old folks, but we just couldn't pay them anymore because they had large salaries.
That is an interesting bit of trivia. I did not know.
Same reason we got Survivor during the actors strike back in 2000 or 2000 or 2001.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have to pay them as much. Get a bunch of no names or get a bunch of people that nobody knows and pay them a hell of a lot less than people who've starred in a series and now 4 movies. Yeah. That makes sense. So I noticed a bunch of updates, we'll say, or upgrades, just new developments from the original series and even the movies to the new series in Next Gen. I know there were telepathic moments or scenes here or there, but it wasn't a seemingly regular thing. But now telepathy is apparently a thing. The Galaxy class starship, I don't recall seeing anything like that before, and I think I made a comment like, "Oh, so we're not a Constitution class anymore."
Nope.
The battle bridge was something that seemed entirely new compared to anything we've seen. We kind of already talked about it though. The emergency saucer SEP, and that just
how quickly we can't say separation anymore. It's just SEP.
I know. Well, I mean, they were already at yellow alert. There was a lot going on.
Yeah. Syllables matter.
The communicators just being tapping the insignia. That was a nice update, and something then that we talked about. Yeah, and then something we talked about a bunch in kind of my rhetorical questions during the original series of how anti-technology and anti-AI and anti-Android the original series really seemed to be, and now there's one on the bridge.
In their defense, though,
and not just that, but a Starfleet graduate.
Well,
how many AIs did Kirk have to convince to kill themselves in the original series? I can think of 2 right off the bat. I think there's more than that.
I think there were at least 3 or 4
that
computers that he talked into self-destructing. But
so not only is data
every time there was an Android AI type thing, it was like an existential threat that had to be dealt with. And now, without explanation at this point, he's just there. Now, clearly there is an explanation, and he was basically Spock. But yeah.
we have to resist the urge right now. We have to give Aaron the
Yeah.
full experience and not respond
No,
to what he
I
just
want to
said.
jump ahead so much, but
It's
it's tough.
Aaron, you need to put a
So,
flag in this thought that you're having and
and
like just remember that
well, and
because
I've known there's got to be a flag for that thought somewhere because as soon as we watched the first episode, was it What Little Girls Are Made Of, where it was a big AI reveal and all of that, and it was like, okay, so this show, the original series, took a very AI androids are bad stance, and that stance basically carried through that those were all an existential threat. And then the irony of seeing headlines today that are like AI is going to destroy the world or AI is going to save the world. I don't know. I mean, it's still a conversation that's being had today in the benefits versus the risks associated. But so yeah, I made the comments many times from what knowledge I do have of this series is that yeah, clearly they come around at some point. But yeah, it's interesting then seeing him there and really just kind of filling that Spock role of being that encyclopedia of knowledge
So I
and
always want
unemotional.
I always want to take a step back because I think this is an interesting kind of turning point in the franchise and this podcast, right? So we have three people on this episode that are pretty familiar with everything that's going on. And Greg, to your point, we know what's coming. Like we've seen down the road and we understand how all these things kind of tie together. But then you've got Aaron, who, other than watching Star Trek Insurrection for some odd reason, um, has no like background or context or anything. So
And with that, I remember nothing from Insurrection other than that I have seen it.
okay. So you've sort of covered this already, but I'd like you to dig into more of the like what your thoughts were coming off of the original series in the first four movies and jumping into, 80 years in the future, new ship, new crew, drastically different time. Like what goes through your mind in comparison to what we've just been watching?
Yeah, I've been looking forward to it. My initial entry into it was I want to get through the original series to get to the stuff my friends like. It was really how I felt going into the original series. So I was really pleasantly surprised by the original series as a whole, especially season one, finding myself like really surprised at how much I one enjoyed it. Um, but just yeah, overall, I had kind of assumed the original series was going to be like most of the animated series was in a bit of a slog to get through, a bit of a chore, just power through it. And I found myself not necessarily doing that. I enjoyed even the bad episodes. I can think back and just be like, man, those are kind of fun to shit on too. But so I enjoyed the original series a lot more than I thought I would. The movies I've enjoyed so far, generally speaking. So, but I've still had that thought of like really looking forward to getting to Next Generation, to
And so
to get into it because I know how much everyone else, particularly really of our age, seems to be drawn more to next gen. I don't know anyone our age really who is like all about the original series and that's
it's
it.
not our generation,
If
right?
they've ever even watched it. So just really looking forward to finally reaching this point and sitting down and clicking play on Next Generation on Paramount Plus was like, while I enjoyed the journey to get here so far, I feel like this is what I was trying to get to. I just happen to enjoy the process of getting here a lot more than I even thought I would.
And so 2 hours into it, has it lived up to your expectations?
So yes, in that, like I said, it was an effective pilot. I left it feeling excited to see what comes next. Uh, I would have almost preferred to continue on with the next episode over rewatching Encounter at Farpoint, but I'm glad I rewatched it because I got a better feel for the things that I maybe missed the first time through. Um, so yeah, I'm very much excited to see where it goes, especially like I said, still knowing how much everyone really loves this series. Uh, for the same reason, I'm excited once we finally get to DS9 and find out what that's all about.
I was going to say, just wait till I get to DS9 and you find out. I
We'll
love
slog
TNG.
through that series then. I'll be like, all right, another wormhole
So-
episode.
Aaron, remember how you were muting me like episodes ago every time I opened my mouth? Like,
Are you asking him to
I'm
mute
not-
me?
I'm
Is that
not
what you're
going to do
asking
that.
for? I'm pretty
not
sure
stupid.
he thinks it's funny. Your reactions, Nate. You just can't control it.
So yeah,
Um,
I don't know if I even answered your question, but
no, I think you did.
I
I just
I have a weird context coming into it because I'm not coming into it having been a fan of a show that's 20 years old.
sure.
I'm coming into it knowing that, at least in theory, there's so much good yet to come. So finally getting to that first episode was a bit of a milestone here. Like I've made it to this point where now I'm watching the stuff I've really been looking forward to. Like I said, even though I was able to really enjoy much more than I thought I would the original series.
Yeah, I wanted to ask the question because it is such a change, right?
Yeah.
And you answered the
Like
question.
I said, there was a lot that felt it didn't feel like something completely different. It felt like a continuation that's following 20 years in the future in development abilities,
Yep.
in technological abilities, not in the series, but in the production of the series. So it felt like an updated version of a show from 20 years earlier, but still felt very Star Trek. It felt very, it didn't feel completely divorced from the original series, even though it was new characters, new ship, clearly new technology available to them. Still just had that feel. One thing I noted in a production sense, even though there was a lot of single cam type shooting in the original series, it very much had the feel of a multi-camera production where it felt like you were watching a stage performance of various scenes. They would have the up close shot of the eyes in shadow, but so they would have some of those elements, but there was no, there was always that fourth wall in the original series, and they didn't have that in this one. So it had that more single cam feel to it. I thought, particularly with the courtroom scene, because they were shooting all around in that scene, showing all angles. But so that was one way it felt a bit different, where even though they had bits of that in the original series, it was still very much, this is our stage, this is our set, and you could tell just had much more of that multi-camera feel to it. Getting into more of a production
did
discussion.
you catch that the battle bridge was actually the bridge from the original motion picture?
I
I did.
didn't pick that up
I didn't know that.
necessarily, but yeah,
Gotta save money wherever you can, right?
right.
Mhm.
Reuse everything.
So going back to what you were saying, Aaron, about having a similar flavor as the original, but slightly varianced. So I'm curious to see, and I want to make sure we bookmark this because how much this changes throughout the first season. Because there's a lot of controversy with Gene Roddenberry's involvement in this original season. So, as I mentioned before, he didn't want to be involved until he just did not like where they were taking the show when he saw their writing and whatnot. So, he actually rewrote, essentially, quote unquote, virtually rewrote the first 15 episodes because he wanted to add in, as they call it, dogmatic intention to depict human interaction without the baser motives, greed, lust, power. But the writers did not like this. They found that his quote unquote Bible for Star Trek was constricting and ridiculous, and they couldn't deal with his ego. And so they said there was a revolving doors of writers during this first season that happened because they were just trying to, bring the audience to share that same love of the characters that we had with the original series. And Roddenberry had a very different idea. So much so he even got its attorneys involved. So attorneys went through and reviewed scripts, Roddenberry's attorneys, and made edits. So a lot of conflict happening within this first reboot. I mean, it makes sense though, right? His baby, and there's a whole different direction, a whole different style. But I am curious how that feel will change for you based on how less involvement Roddenberry has as we go through.
At the same time, like I said, it felt very much like a pilot episode. It didn't feel like a regular series episode. It felt like a pilot, but it was a very effective one. It like I've said a couple times, it left me wanting to watch the next episode. So in that sense, it was incredibly effective. But still, it was very much set up like a pilot. I mean, like it because it was. It just had. I mean, even the very last line. I'm blanking on the exact wording of it, but it was like, "Let's see what's out there," and so it was setting up for basically they were leaving. Was it Deneb 4? So
Yep.
they're at the outermost limit of where people have gone. Now, it's a little shocking that there would be people there that have not gone any further, but the fact that they are at the outermost limit of where they've gone, and now there is the mass of the galaxy beyond. So it has been set up much like the original series was, like, hey, we are now at a new limit, a new barrier of where people have been, and now we're going to break through it, and limitless possibilities here. And I felt like they effectively set that up. That's just like, yeah, now we can go on and see what adventures come next. And even some comments of like, oh, I hope this isn't how all of our missions go. And he's just like, no, I think they'll be a lot more interesting. So stuff that I don't know if those are kind of almost psychological things trying to get people to buy into what they're doing, but again, made for an effective pilot, set up in such a way that there's plenty more to come. And yeah, I'm happy to know that there's 7 more seasons.
Hell yeah. I think, Aaron, part of what makes the pilot episode so effective is that, and it, the three of us on this call have experienced this episode, multiple times over, and I think we all have a similar feeling watching it, where it does feel like a beginning. None of the characters know each other. Riker and Picard start off on on walking on glass around each other. Like, it's really uncomfortable to watch.
It's an awkward scene, right?
That was well done in that regard.
But it
Super well
It was
done.
a really good scene.
you know, and it also gives you a little sense of who Picard is because his walls are up, but he's also kind of testing Riker a little bit. He's feeling him out because he's got this reputation, and so none of the characters know each other. It's their first couple of days on this ship together, and they're having all these harrowing experiences already, and they are about to go where no one has gone before.
Yeah.
And they're doing it. They're generating chemistry on the fly as you're watching, and I think that is a really it's all a mistake, like Abby said, but it works. It's brilliant. You know, it just totally works as a viewer.
So
I think
You're on that journey with
I
them.
would
absolutely.
Yeah. I would say there's a bit of this that reminds me a bit of the pilot for Parks and Rec, where I've talked about it before. Parks and Rec, one of my absolute favorite shows. Except for this time, I was on board with the pilot right away. Parks and Rec took me like 3 tries to finally be hooked, and then I love it. But I can go back now, and some of the things you've said, Abby, I can go back now and I can watch the pilot of Parks and Rec, and I can see where those characters are going to go, even though almost none of those characters are like that beyond even the first episode or two. So I can appreciate that with this, but also, and again, maybe it's that context of I know there's 7 more seasons. I know there's a number of more spin-offs and movies and reboots. So I know there's so much more to come from this. So I don't know what the feeling would have been in 1987. I feel like it was probably effective in that they jumped into action almost immediately. They brought in new characters. They had it seemed fully developed as an idea, even though it's in their first episode. The actors, they don't know these characters yet. They have an idea of what the characters might be in one script, but they don't know them yet. They don't know who they are. And the writers don't either. They have these ideas, and I'm sure when I revisit this episode down the road, it'll be like, oh wow, I can see where these hints of character are in these, or where these reflections of the maybe true characters are. But I don't know.
I
I thought
feel
it was
like
a good start.
the amount of head nods from all three of us when you're like, yeah, the future we can see in this, and we're trying not to spoil for you on any of this kind of stuff, but there were so many like allusions to what's going to happen in the future with this. It was exciting to rewatch it from, as Gregg said, a more analytical perspective, because it's like, oh my goodness, and just because you can even get the flavor of it. They didn't explain everything, but you know there's some context there that they're going to address later on, and that's part of that enticement to, I want to watch more. I want to know what's going on between Deanna and Riker. What happened there? What the heck's an Imzadi? Like, what is this?
What's
You
a
know,
holodeck?
what's a holodeck?
This is so great, Aaron. You're talking about how it's like,
You put your mic a little closer.
Oh, I'm sorry, I keep doing that. You're
Keeps
talking about
drinking
how
on the job.
you were talking about how it sort of feels
Drink like a pro.
like the writers, like the writers are sort of discovering as they go.
Yeah.
Almost. And I was talking about, many writers working on it. There's that scene when Riker first comes onto a holodeck. We haven't seen a holodeck before.
Mhm.
And he looks at a rock in the river like it's just, he's like, he's never seen a rock before. And you're discovering, you the viewer are discovering, the writers are discovering as they write. The the character is learning about holodecks as you're watching him, and it's like, I don't know, it just all works on this really fascinating level to me.
Yeah. And like I said, I would love to put myself in the shoes of somebody in 1987 watching this, who was a fan of the original series, and or had a parent as a fan of the original series and ready to dive into this new iteration. But then not knowing how popular it was going to be, how influential, how impactful it would be. unfortunately, in that sense, I'm coming to it knowing there's a hell of a lot more to come. So I know that with anything I watch. So it's just like, all right, I know this is starting something that's going to surpass what even started this. And I've gone a little ahead of myself in some sense in that I listened to Making It So. I listened to Patrick Stewart's autobiography because I didn't want to wait like 8 years to be able to listen to it. So I was just like, fuck it, I'm gonna listen now, and really enjoyed it. And granted, only
Well,
about a
and
third of the book
very
is
little of
about
that book is
only
actually
about a
about
third of
Star.
it is about Star Trek,
Yeah.
but still hearing that and hearing the lead up to it and the fact that Gene Roddenberry was just like, I do not want that guy. Like Gene Roddenberry did not want Patrick Stewart at all for this role and
Boy,
had
he
some
really
really awkward like interactions too um with his auditions so to speak. But
Isn't
yeah,
that
so
what happened to him on Dune too, though? Has anyone heard of the story? Poor Patrick Stewart. They thought they were casting a different guy named Patrick Stewart, and he showed up on set and was like, "You're
No.
not the guy, but I guess." Like he was in the original Dune by accident.
That's hilarious. I didn't know that.
so yeah, I just so yeah, I know obviously there's so much more to come, so I can't ignore that as I watch any of this, and that knowledge I think gives me a different experience than it would have been, hey, a new show coming out. Much like if a new Star Trek show comes out now, we don't know if it's going to be good or not. But yeah, I can then also have seen enough shows and rewatched enough shows to kind of understand, yeah, characters are going to change. They're going to grow, they're going to develop, they're going to become more complex. They're early on they have to be kind of they may fit more stereotypes just because there's only so much development that can go in before the characters get developed through the series. So I'm excited to see where it all goes in terms of the characters and just the world building that they have.
Tell me what you see. Like, what are some of the like sniffs that you've got of things you want to see flesh out and the answers you want to see based on like the little interactions you've seen thus far?
I mean, so I talked about some of the new developments that there have been in the universe of the franchise at this point. They referenced then the Ferengi Alliance, I think, or the Ferengis. They talk about them. So there's clearly more out there than Romulans and Klingons and whatever. I mean, there's a Klingon on the Enterprise, so clearly something happens there that allows that to happen. Um, yeah, in theory, you would guess Romulans are still a thing. But yeah, there are clearly other races, people, groups out there that they're setting the stage. They're showing that these things exist so they can then call back to them later. And then if they never do, then that's kind of poor writing, I guess. But it just I can tell that I'm sure if I go back and rewatch this, I'll pick up on a lot more on a subsequent watching than I see this time through. I mean, the biggest thing is what I brought up earlier and brought up on prior episodes is the whole Android thing, and how they get from androids are bad and dangerous to here's one flying the Enterprise. So, or controlling an awful lot and being a lieutenant commander. So, being not just there, but also an officer. Um, so that development I'm interested to see, and just the way it's just expanded from what it was. I mean, even there, the bridge. You think of the bridge on in the original series, and there was the one chair that Kirk sat in, and then there was the board where Sulu and Chekhov were. And here there were the 2 seats up front, but then there were 3 seats, like one on either side of the captain's chair. So it's clearly an expanded universe, an expanded everything. They're on a bigger ship that can do more, apparently. So yeah, just really interested to see where all of
Did,
that goes.
did you catch, Aaron, that this is now the flagship of the entire fleet?
I missed that.
Okay, so that's a pretty important piece of context. They are going further than anyone else before because they're in the most special ship in the fleet.
So is this, and I'm sure they'll get into this, but is this the only Galaxy class starship out there?
No.
No,
Okay.
but it is the most up to
Flagship.
date like flagship.
Yeah.
It's the top
Yeah.
assignment.
Now-
So traditionally, the way it's worked in this universe is the first ship of a class bears the name of the class. So the USS Galaxy is the first Galaxy class. The USS Constitution was the first Constitution class. What we saw in the movies, the USS Excelsior was the first Excelsior class.
Interesting.
I didn't
Cool.
know that.
I didn't know that.
Nerd.
All right, I asked you that question, Aaron. I want to ask Greg and Nate this. Just based on this one episode, what were things that you saw that you're excited to see flesh out in the next episodes? Just based on context we saw on this episode alone. Now we know what's going to happen, but like for example, like the Deanna and Riker thing, or that kind of on that way, like hints of what's going to change. What do you guys see as the hints right now?
I think for me, it's looking at how Patrick Stewart acts, and we've talked a lot about this already, right? But I read his memoir as well when it first came out. I've been a fan of his for a long time. Have seen him do stage acting, have seen him in movies outside of Star Trek and X-Men, because that's not the only thing he's known for.
Robin
right?
Hood Men in Tights.
Absolutely. Oscar worthy right there.
Safe
But
House.
just now watching through this series, having read that book and understanding what's
No, I'm sorry. No, was that a giant ass spider
No,
that just
it was an
crawled?
ant. I have ants in here. It just crawled on me.
It was huge.
right.
Don't worry.
I wasn't
It was
looking
like
at the
an
camera for that.
Instagram film that just crawled up his chest.
No, it was an ant. Sorry. That
No
freaked me
worries.
out too. I saw him. I was like, "Whoa, shit!"
I don't know how much of this Aaron's going to leave in, but
It
All
was
of it.
huge. It was huge.
Salute it.
so
Sorry about
I
that.
think, having gotten kind of a behind the scenes look of how Patrick Stewart viewed the show and the movies that followed, and kind of seeing things from his perspective, and then rewatching it, because I haven't really watched much of Next Gen since I read his memoir. That's kind of what I'm looking forward to. And I'll pick up stuff along the way. Like I'm just like with the original series, I'm looking at these from a different lens. It's not just, something on in the background while I'm doing other things. I'm actually paying attention and looking at them a little bit more critically. So I know I'm going to pick up elements and things that I've never seen before. But I think that's the thing that I'm most looking forward to exploring.
Yeah, I pretty much feel the same way both of them do, but I think it's really hard for me to separate, just view it as though I was a first-time viewer. But I think it's the excitement of watching relationships develop, and sort of seeing how the characters will interact with each other and grow, and change over time. I'm excited about that. I think that they're at their strongest when they are doing everything, not just being serious and having an adventure. I think this cast is incredibly charismatic and is able to do anything. They play romance, they play comedy, they do all this great stuff. So I'm excited to see those relationships develop and see the characters in different situations, I guess.
Can I add to my answer too? I'm looking forward to arguments with Aaron over episodes because that's the most fun part of all of it.
So here's a
Like
thought.
I said, after the original series, you guys are going to be really ashamed when I like all of Star Trek a lot more than you.
It might happen. You never know.
You never know.
Oh God. Here's an interesting thought I had though, as you were saying that, because both of you guys said the same thing. It's character development.
Mhm.
You want to see these individuals develop, not necessarily the wild adventures they're going to go on and so on, right? So original series, we had three main characters. So was the longevity of the series due to the fact that they only had three people to flesh out? And by the end of season 3, we've pretty much dissected most of these characters' relationships, their interactions, and so on. And does that cause this series to have so much more longevity because we're looking across 6, 7, 8 people and how they interact with each other? It's exponentially more opportunities for change and for learning.
I think that's a good point because if I'm recalling correctly, with the largely forgettable third season of the original series, late in it, there were a few episodes that were much more ensemble based, and they were a bit more pleasant than some of the standard Kirk, Spock, Bones episodes that had become so just the formula. When they had some that were more involving of everybody, those ones were at least a bit more compelling. But then
The
after
movies.
at least then after one or two of those, it was kind of like, oh, it was fun having a Spock and Bones episode where they were kind of the key. But yeah, again, the episodes really that kind of shined the brightest were some of those ensemble episodes. And again, maybe I'm forgetting maybe they were not that good, but at least some recollection that there were at least some notable differences between those base three characters and the ensemble by my recollection I think worked pretty well.
Aaron, who was your favorite character to start the show?
Ooh.
It's a great question.
Mm.
I mean, it's got to be Wesley, right?
Okay, I'm glad you brought up Wesley. We haven't
No, we
discussed
haven't.
No. So
Wesley at all.
no, I say that only because like I said back in my my initial what I know going in, I loved Will Wheaton on Tabletop and in Big Bang Theory, and I know pretty much everyone hates him through Next Gen. So
I
yeah.
think Wesley
Wait,
gets a bad rap.
Before we
Sure
get
does.
too far
I
into Wesley, just answer the question seriously though. I really do want to know who's your
yeah,
favorite character.
I don't know. I
Okay,
think I don't know.
you don't have a gut
Um
instinct. Like I just really enjoyed
I mean,
watching this character.
I'm excited to see Picard.
Okay,
I was excited to see Patrick Stewart. I think I maybe did talk about this a little earlier, or I guess allude to it. I thought Riker they made very compelling in
yes.
it. I'm very curious about Worf. He was there, but he didn't have much to do other than being a Klingon that was there. So I'm yeah, I don't know which I would say is my favorite, but I'm intrigued by pretty much all of them, except I wasn't really that intrigued by Dr. Crusher.
Okay, interesting.
Um, at this point,
Okay,
I mean, I'm curious of Deanna Troy and the telepathy and all of that and what her role is. Because yeah, there was a little bit of, like Abby said, I don't know if I would have put it in these terms, but I think she said it perfectly, where she was a bit like Sigourney Weaver in Galaxy Quest of just kind of there's pain and anger and and then there was gratitude and happiness and gratitude and happiness from both. And so but I'm interested in how that character will develop and how that ability will be used.
It's a different dimension, right? It's something we
Yeah,
haven't seen out of
right.
the character.
Yeah. Um, but in terms of just in the first episode, I mean, you got to be most intrigued by Picard, Captain, and yeah, I thought that, like I said, I could easily see after this pilot Riker being the focus of the series. Um, so I found him to be a compelling character too, and just his I the awkward introduction between Riker and Picard, but him basically just sticking to like, yeah, I know my role. And if you want to question it, that's fine. But I still know my role and I'm going to stand by it, even if you're saying something stupid that I disagree with. I thought it was a very, it was, it was like a power dynamic they were going through that wasn't really a power dynamic. I don't even know, but it was a really interesting scene where he knew he was being tested. Um, I think, and he I think was answering truthfully, but also had that thought of like, what does he want to hear
Hmm.
from me? But at the same time, was like, whatever he wants to hear, I'm still going to tell what I'm saying, and if he doesn't like it, then I guess we'll deal with it.
Can can I admit something to you all right now?
Oh boy.
Yeah,
I
it's
I
like I've actually never
always
seen an episode.
Yeah.
no, this is all it's a
Yeah. I lied at
program.
the top of this.
I always forget. I mean, every single time that uh, Will Wheaton is the essentially the main protagonist of Stand By Me. I forget that every single time because the performances are so so different in my head of those two young men. Essentially, it's the same person. You know, so they probably filmed very close together.
I've
Always
never
blows
seen
me away.
Stand By Me.
Incredible. He's incredible in that movie.
Yeah.
I
And
mean, it's the movie that got him cast in this show.
Yeah.
yes, for sure. And I want to talk about Wesley a little bit.
Directed by Rob Reiner.
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude. Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
huge
it's
movie.
a-
Huge.
I haven't
It's a
watched
Stephen
it
King
years,
short,
but-
like
Stephen
Stephen King
King.
novella.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The Body.
He got
River
extremely
Phoenix is in it too.
yes very very crazy cast. I always forget, and I kind of stamped down on our talking about Wesley. What do you guys think of Wesley Crusher? What's your general impression of him, Aaron?
Based
I'm
on this
curious.
episode or based on overall?
Let's do this episode because I
I
don't
am-
I don't want to.
So I
Get
thought
too
I
ahead.
thought it was I thought it was funny how frank Picard was in telling Riker, I need you to help me with kids so I don't make an ass of myself. And then he's dealing with Wesley on the bridge and like, I don't allow kids on my bridge and being
and was
kind of a
generally
dick
an
to him.
ass.
And yeah, was being basically a dick to Wesley, and then also having that like, wait, how do you know that? Um, kind of stuff. I don't know. I like I said jokingly that I know everyone pretty much seems to hate him. Um, but I'm trying to not really let that color it. I had almost no opinion of him other than there were there were a few moments where the way he said something just sounded like him either reading an audiobook I've listened to or his intros to the tabletop board game YouTube series. So that was more I was less intrigued by the character and more intrigued by the guy that I've seen in so many other things and hearing the inflection or whatever, even though it's a 15-year-old's voice instead of a grown adult's voice saying it. But there were a few moments where it was just like, oh yeah, that's him. um and that was really most of my thought regarding that character. I had almost no opinion on the character after this episode.
I think if I'm going to look at this episode, by itself without taking into account what's to come. I think it's an interesting exploration of what it's like to have children on board a Starfleet vessel, right? Because he's 16-ish around this time, 15, 16, somewhere in there. And so, the original series, even though Starfleet wasn't a military organization primarily, was run very much like a military vessel, right?
Yeah.
And so now we're seeing and they even make reference to the fact that he's not used to having children on board, right?
Mhm.
So here's a ship that where it's going to be normal to have people of all ages running around. And so to incorporate that idea into a main cast member is kind of interesting, right? And you kind of see right from the start that he is at least well versed in how a starship works, right? He's read the tech manuals. He kind of understands how things are. There's that spark of genius that's somewhere in there, and it makes me curious, to see where that goes, right? Obviously, I know where it goes, but just within the four walls of that episode, I think it's a neat idea. It's different.
You guys are way too kind. He was terrible in the first episode. I'm sorry. It was
It
terrible.
was terrible.
His acting was just terrible. He falls into the water like, oh, it was awful. It was
I
dead
don't
awful.
know.
Come on,
I
guys.
think
But I
I'm
still
gonna-
love Will Wheaton for the same reason Aaron does. I mean, Will Wheaton's amazing. I know he comes around. I dislike that they chose Will Wheaton's age to be the protagonist against Picard, because that's not a child. 15, 16-year-olds, they can usually handle themselves pretty well. And he acted younger than my 10-year-old in this. And it was like 16, 10. I don't know. Like, it'd be cuter if it was like a younger kid, like causing chaos or something like that. 16, like, that's in some cultures an adult. So that one I had to struggle with, thinking about it from that terms. But I chalked up the bad acting in it to no one knows their character yet. We don't know how to play it. He's overacting it, just like it was overacted, I guess is the better way to say it. Not badly acted, but overacted. And as was everybody. Deanna did the same thing. Picard did the same thing. He was crazy aggressive and, not the Picard I remember. And kind of like, oh, wow, you're kind of a dick in this episode. All right, cool. Versus the guy that you love. And I feel like, we haven't got, I don't want to get more spoilers here and stuff. So, but he didn't bother me this time watching it because I know what the future holds. If I had watched this as a standalone episode with no other context, I would like, yep, that's a child 80s child actor right there. Yep, that checks out.
I think Aaron hit it on the head for me. I think if I was, I think I would think this is probably not a central figure. They're going to like appear here and there. Is the impression I think I got from the pilot of Mr. Crusher. Anyway, I thought that was interesting.
We've got to bring up the ick moment, because every Star Trek has an ick moment, right? Or like a groan. And for me, this one was the like, let's bring up the fact that like Wesley has to bring up as he first meets someone like, oh yeah, he brought me to my dad. Oh, my dad was dead. Like, what 16-year-old says
that
this?
wasn't even the worst one.
And then he does it on the bridge too.
No, that wasn't anywhere near the worst comment he made. The worst comment he made is, my mom doesn't like to talk to men she doesn't know.
That's right.
And there is the clip for the very end of the episode.
Like I said, Wesley Crusher is cringy in this episode, but he comes around.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm obviously influenced by later things, but I don't know. I always think he gets a bad rap. I think he's actually overall a really good character.
He redeems himself, I think. This episode, not so much, but he redeemed himself.
Just thinking through some of it, and thinking through just favorite characters or whatever. I just go back to, I think it's this episode in particular did a great job of the storytelling mechanic of showing and not telling. They can add a single word that tells a whole tells you there's a whole lot there without telling you explicitly what it is. Picard has some voiceover saying, I'm taking over my new command. That word new tells you there's an old command. There's something that got this guy to be the captain of the flagship of the Federation. So there's a lot there that we don't know. And maybe you guys know and I don't. So maybe there's just a lot that I don't know. I know there's plenty that I don't know. But I thought that was really part of what made this such an effective pilot is it told you enough to watch the episode and understand what's going on, but also showed that there's a hell of a lot more going on than just what you see right here. I mean, Riker has a background on, was it what, the Hood? Or
Yeah.
so he's got a background with another captain. He's known among these others, and whatever he's done has gotten him to be the first officer on the flagship. And I mean, you've got Worf, who's a Klingon Starfleet officer, and that's basically all they say. And so they show you all these things without telling you, how did Worf get here? How did Picard get here? What was his odyssey to get from whatever his background was to where he is today? But all of those doors are there and are opened, which I find very compelling for the series and where they can go with it and where they can develop these characters and give them that background that clearly exists. And like I said, Picard's background can fully exist by a single word: new. My new command. And I thought that was just some really effective stuff in the episode that makes almost all of the characters very compelling in that ensemble sense, but also just interested to see, how did they get here and where are they going? And then the way it wraps up, like, let's see what's out there. Just yeah, it was a good episode. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, start calling you Cotton Eye Joe, because it's 2 weeks in a row.
God damn it.
Okay. I don't have a ton of trivia questions, but I do have probably 7 or 8 if you guys want to do buzz in.
All right.
And Greg, you have not been here yet for this, and you have not heard these episodes yet, but question will be read, buzz in with your name, and then whoever I call on, because whoever called in first gets to answer the question. Okay?
Okay.
You ready?
Mhm.
All right. When Q appears on the bridge, he changes his uniform several times. Name one of them.
Gregg.
Nate?
World War II uniform.
Yep. Marine from US World War II. What is the ship that drops off Riker?
Nate. USS Hood.
Yeah, we just talked over that one. That was tough.
I would have known it anyway, but
All right. When Will Riker first meets Data, it's on the holodeck. What is he trying to whistle?
Nate.
Oh, I got it.
Pop
Nate.
goes.
What happens to Yar when she gets angry and yells at Q?
Aaron.
Gregg.
Aaron.
She gets frozen.
Susan.
Nate just gave us that one.
He did.
He can't run away with the whole thing.
He's, I'll let these guys have this.
What is the name of the alien race that created Farpoint?
I'm trying not to look at my
Aaron.
notes over here.
Aaron?
Ooh. Well, was it the Bendy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep. And what is their leader's name?
Nate.
Groppler
Zorn.
Zorn. All right. When Will Riker is in Groppler Zorn's office, what kind of fruit
Aaron.
suddenly
Gregg.
appears? Oh, I didn't catch who said that one first. You guys got to tell me on that one.
I think it was Nate.
Okay. Nate?
God damn it.
I had that one. Damn it.
I need to go check that one too. I just made sure to not yell out bullshit.
Find out it's
right away.
0.03 seconds ahead again.
All right. What did Geordie LaForge say was the reason for his blindness?
Nate.
Oh, I know this.
Nate,
It's a genetic condition, wasn't it?
he was born blind.
Damn it! I was gonna say he was born.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Uh,
Wow.
And then last but not least, what planet was Farpoint Station on?
Nate.
I think it was Nate. I heard first.
Deneb 4.
Done before. And then final piece of trivia that we did not address within the normal conversation was the drug dispenser soldiers in the courtroom that Aaron didn't like. Did you guys catch what their labels were on there? I did not catch it. I read it in trivia.
I
It
read
says
it
Army-
in trivia, so I won't say it.
It's Army R2D3
No way.
on purpose. Yep.
R2D3.
Wow.
Yep. To nod against or for, I don't know, Star Wars.
I don't know. They used ILM for a lot of things, so they couldn't have hated Star Wars that much.
No.
I had no idea.
Yeah, I did not catch that. That's a cool piece of trivia.
I went 0 for 10 on those.
You got to catch up. Nate's like an animal on these.
No, this is the point where I remind everyone that I was captain of the quizzball team in high school. So.
Nerd.
How
Where
much?
that
What does your
He
level
says-
of
he
nerd have
says-
to be if the three
He
of us
says
are
an
the
hour
ones
and a
calling
half
that?
into the Star Trek podcast.
I was going to say. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
What'd you think, Greg?
Are we of the episode?
Yeah. Did you have fun?
Yeah, I had a great time. Are we talking about watching it or the recording right now? Are we
We're talking about
Yeah.
the recording
question.
right
Are we
now.
done? Is that
Either
the end
way.
of the episode?
Conversation.
Great.
Yeah,
The
I
recording.
think. I mean, is there anything else to really add, or are we
No,
kind of good?
There.
I got nothing.
Yeah.
I think it's funny that we didn't really talk much about the plot of the episode, and that's totally okay. But more of like the impressions behind, the transition and
The
that kind of
plot
thing.
Which
is very simple, really. The
It
first
really
episode.
is.
It's
Yeah,
mostly
and
vignettes,
how
like little stories about the characters that kind of like.
if we
put
made
them
it this
together.
far, we've had conversations about Sulu and the space daggers and all that stuff, and not a single mention of the space jellyfish with the Avatar mating at the end.
I thought that too. They're one with the mother.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty great.
So yeah.
Oh my God. I mean, we could have had the discussion about, is mankind worthy based on what Q is saying and so on. He's got some points on the worthiness of humanity, but I don't think we want to discuss too much into that because I feel like we're going to hit more of those points in other episodes, so we don't want to spoil for you.
There'll be plenty more of that to come.
Is mankind worth it? Are
Yeah.
we good or are we bad as we explore the universe?
That is the question. Well, this was super fun, you guys.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks
Thank
for
you for
joining.
having
This
me.
was great.
Super fun.
Well, there you go. We are into a new era of Star Trek. I feel like I've said it countless times, but I can hardly believe it. Honestly, I don't know what I expected coming into it. Encounter at Farpoint felt like a pilot episode. That's not to be a critique of it, just an observation. It felt like it was the beginning of something new, which, of course, it was. Yet it still felt like Star Trek. It felt like Star Trek, but like the movies, at a bigger scale, a bigger scope. Like with the original series, humanity has a very hopeful future in the long term. Near term? Still seems pretty bleak. But sometimes I guess you need to really go through it if you want to come out better on the other side. Maybe that's what happens in the Star Trek universe. Or happened. One thought I had, with all the mention of Q during the original series, I don't know what I expected Q to be or be like once we hit next gen. I don't know what I expected, but I do know that this was not it. I also didn't realize he would be so prevalent right from the start. I guess I don't really have any commentary there other than I was a bit surprised. All in all, I thought it was a solid pilot. It was a start to the series that has me excited for more. So, mission accomplished. And with that, I think I'll wrap this one up. If you're watching along with us, next time we will discuss The Naked Now, Code of Honor, and The Last Outpost. As always, I want to thank you for spending your time listening to our conversations about Star Trek. If you enjoy what we're doing, please do us a favor and share with a friend. Also, leave us a rating and a review on your favorite podcast app. You can find us on X at Baldly Go Podcast and To Baldly Go Podcast on Facebook. You can also find me at aaronemery.net. You can find some of Gregg's work on YouTube and Instagram at The Spilt Beans. That's beans with a Z. And for Abby and Nate and Gregg, this is Aaron reminding you to never give up, never surrender. I watched it, and I am excited to see what comes next.